Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can
Great,
see it.
wonderful, great. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mona Simeone. I'm the GIS manager for UCSF Real Estate Business Intelligence team. And my presentation today is on monitoring construction logistics at UCSF using GIS. So before I begin, I do need to acknowledge the various entities and people involved in the project, specifically UCSF Real Estate Leadership Team has been outstanding in their support, and there's a whole list of other folks there on the right that have been supporting this program for the last couple of years. So a big shout out and thank you to everyone involved. Just a quick background on UCSF. We do have 4 campuses, over 300 facilities. 12 million square feet that we manage. We also have a 61-acre open space reserve. And you can see a lot of the areas of education and academics that we have. We are a graduate level medical research university focused on health. We're the only one like that within the UC system. So no undergraduate program, and we have sort of a flipped model where we have only about 5,000 students, but 30,000 employees. So a little different than your typical campus in the UC. Today's discussion, we're going to focus on the Parnassus Heights campus, which I've circled in the middle here. And what's just a little more context on this particular campus. It is a dense urban environment surrounded by residential neighborhoods. I mentioned the open space reserve that is to the south of the campus, the main portion of the campus, with limited truck access, limited parking. We have a MUNI or municipal light rail and bus routes that go through this area. An active business corridor on several sides, and then we're also a few blocks away from Gold Gate. So hopefully that gives you some context in terms of the environment that we're working in. So what is happening? The white buildings here denote what is expected to be new construction over the next 10 years, where UCSF is planning to spend about $10 billion on construction. So a significant portion of the campus will be either demolished and built or remodeled. Just a lot of construction. So considering that Parnassus Heights is a dense urban environment with limited vehicle access, we do expect a significant amount of construction activity, which would be a recipe for potential disruptions to not only the construction projects that UCSF is working on, but our campus operations, so our hospitals and our clinics, and our campus community, as well as the local businesses and neighbors. So in order to sort of help manage the construction of the campus, along with just making sure that we're not being too disruptive, the Parnassus Heights Construction Logistics Management Program was established, which supports coordination amongst the different construction teams and any nearby construction to avoid disruption and reduce impacts, as well as reducing the risks to the construction project. So whether that's time or money. I do like to just give an overview of the team, just so that folks understand how many people are involved to make this work. It's not just 1 or 2 people. There's several others, and as well as consultants that help out on this. The GIS objectives for this program were really to map and visualize the construction projects, the construction impacts, and site logistics information. To provide a self-service reporting of impacts and complaints to the team and to UCSF. Manage a manager application for editing the GIS data, and a manager application for moderating the contact list. So who gets onto that contact list, as well as who may get access to the GIS system. We wanted to make it accessible to internal and external users, and as well as automate notifications to these various audiences that we report out to. We are looking to integrate our project business systems to automate updates into the GIS system, as well as a GIS-enabled Gantt chart and enable interior project mapping. Those 2 are currently under review to see how feasible they are. In terms of the platform, as we're using Esri's ArcGIS Online, We have 10 different applications, 3 different Survey 123 forms. We're using Microsoft Power Automate, Python scripts, as well as a product called Safe FME Flow on-premise, not their cloud solution. We currently have, I think, about 117, 120 users using the GIS system. And we are able to do this because we have an Esri educational site license for administrative use that we get every year. So we're very lucky to have that. So where this starts for most users is the hub site, the Construction Logistics Management Hub site. This is built using ArcGIS Hub. And there is a front page to this that is open to the public, but then in order to get to this page or the screenshot that you're seeing here, this does require member access. And there are additional pages that are restricted to the team as well. And here, this just gives an overview of the number of projects and the number of impacts, and then additional resources for our project managers within design and construction or health design and construction, as well as our construction managers or our GCs. We have 2 main applications, one being a program viewer, which all members to the system can view projects and impacts and the contacts list. And then a program manager application, which is limited to the construction logistics team. And this is really just for the team to be able to edit project boundaries or attributes, as well as impacts and site logistics, and then to moderate impacts, contact lists, and access lists. The project viewer has several filters on the left-hand side. This allows you to search or filter by location, either interior or exterior projects, a project status, whether it's active or scheduled, and then you can see several others there. Within the map view itself, clicking on a particular project will bring up a project card that tells you the start and end dates, a basic description, and who to contact about that project. The way this works is that we have monthly updates from our Unifier business system. That goes into our master schedule that updates from both the Unifier system and our GIS that's managing non-UCSF projects. And then an output from the master schedule table. We have a single CSV file that updates our Survey 123 form just with the projects and the projects that become active or are closed. So that list in the Survey 123 form that I'll show in a few slides is updated once per month. We also have a process for contacts. So I mentioned earlier that we collect a contact list. That's a contact for all the projects, or maybe some folks in the neighborhood that need to be notified. This is audited monthly. A contact approval is a prerequisite to GIS access, but being approved by the contact approval process does not mean one gets access to the GIS. And we have a Survey 123 form that's public, so that allows for internal or external users to submit their contact information. And then we have a Power Automate flow process that just simply emails the logistics team to notify them that someone has requested to be on the contact list. Our construction manager approves that, so there's a moderation step there. And then there's a second Power Automate flow that says, yes, you got to accept it, or no, you didn't. And then if it's approved, it goes into our contacts feature service, which then is available in our dashboard. And this is what our ArcGIS dashboard looks like. One can filter by the project, and that's what I've done here is I've specifically filtered by a particular project, and I can see everyone who's associated with that project. And you click on a particular name, and then you can get the contact card of that person. The other viewer is the impacts viewer, similar to projects. Filters, again, on the left-hand side, we can filter a viewer by the start date or end date, or what may be coming up in the next 7, 14, or 30 days. Again, status, whether it's active or scheduled, if it's in a building or exterior. And then the same process applies. You click on a project, or excuse me, click on an impact, and an impact card comes up with the details of the start and the end date and the description of the impact. So the impacts report form is a self-service reporting by the PMs or the GCs, pretty short Survey123 in terms of the number of questions. We are using Survey123 Connect as it allows for more flexibility to design the form, and then Power Automate to send email notifications along with a Python script to update the status of the impact on a nightly basis, and then SafeFME to deliver some summary emails. The types of impacts really depends on the location first, which is either interior or exterior, and then if it's exterior, whether it's within the fence line or outside of the fence line, since there are different types of impacts with those. And what we're trying to address are things like the project managers really care about interruptions or closures that may impact delivery of material. Staffing, or excuse me, building staff really care about noise or vibration and extended working hours. And our neighbors want to avoid having to hear our construction or see it on the weekends or late at night, and especially trucks idling in front of their house. So here's a view of a blank or a reporting form. You can see that this is all there really is to it. One chooses the campus where this is occurring, the project that it's associated with, whether it's an interior or exterior, brief description, and then the map in the middle there. If it's an interior impact, the pin will actually drop on the building that's associated with it. So the user does not have to go and find that building. And then there's an additional map that can be extended if it's an exterior impact and we need to know the area or the extent of that impact. The user can draw that area. Is this a repeating event, start and end time, and status? And then if there's additional documentation that needs to be added, that can be added as an attachment or linked to a shared files service. So we tried to design this form in the most simplistic way to get the most basic information from the user, from the GC or the PM. Trying not to make it too complicated, but the GIS component of it, or the mapping of it, is pretty critical to our process and our operations. So there's really two types of uses for this form. One is either submitting a new impact or updating an existing impact. So following the new impact process, again, Power Automate is used here. It'll send a notification to the construction logistics team that a new impact has been submitted. The submitter will get an email with all their information that they did submit, so they can see exactly what was submitted. And if it's approved by the manager, then it shows up in our impact level application, which I showed a few slides back. If someone is updating an existing impact, there's actually a link within the impact card within the email that was submitted, or if they just go back to the email, they can actually open up the form, make the changes within the form, and resubmit it. And that's the bottom process there using FME Flow. The construction logistics team will get an email that says, hey, something has changed, and here's exactly what has changed. We're using SafeFME Flow for two other processes. One is to notify the impact owner 72 hours before or after the impact has started or its end date. And that's just to make sure that that start or end date is still accurate. The other is a email weekly summary. And that's what this looks like, just providing a list of impacts, the start and end date, description, and some other information. This is emailed once per week. We're also using the system for site logistics. This is specifically for staging and laydown space, Connex boxes, and contractor parking. This is really because we're in an urban environment. There's not a lot of space to put material down or to find parking for all of the contractors that come on site to do their work. And so understanding where these are and how they're being utilized helps us make this a more smoother process for our construction logistics. We did have one use case recently or earlier this year. During some heavy rains, we had a mudslide along a road that needed to be closed. One of our users actually went into the system, drew the portion of the road that needed to be closed, and submitted that, and this became immediately available to any of the contractors or PMs to review and to understand, and then adjust their schedules or their activities as needed. For the Program Manager app, again, this is just for the construction logistics team. This is actually built on ArcGIS Experience Builder. It has edit capabilities, moderation capabilities, and some metrics. So in terms of editing, the team simply selects a project. The attributes show up on the left-hand side. Those can all be changed. Clicking the shape again allows the user to modify the shape, so you can change the area. In terms of moderation, we're just using the Survey123 data view. Click on a record, it opens up the form. The user can go in and say, yes, I approve this contact, or yes, I approve this person getting GIS access, or yes, I approve this impact. And that then triggers some Power Automate flows to notify other users of whatever the next step in the process may be. Metrics are also a part of this process, knowing how many projects are the total number of projects, how many are active, along with impacts, what type of impacts, how frequently these are occurring. Again, these sort of metrics just help us understand the use of the system and what is actually happening in our environment, and also provide some numbers to share with our leadership. I do want to point out that we're also using ArcGIS solution called Citizen Reporter. This is specifically for neighbors to report non-emergency construction impacts. One of my colleagues, Rashmi Mukherjee, I believe, did a lightning talk on this earlier, I think yesterday or the day before. So hopefully you caught that. Some of the challenges that we are seeing is really around multiple sources of systems for projects. We're still working on that. We have, at least in the pipeline, to automate one portion of it, but we still have another entity that's reporting projects that we need to loop in. Managing and administrating external users. We have a pretty good process currently, but there's definitely room for improvement, I think, on the Esri side to make that a little bit easier for us to do. And then handling an event with multiple impacts. So we occasionally have things where there's a crane lift that team needs to shut down a lane of traffic. It needs to close parking spots along the side next to the sidewalk, close down the sidewalk to perform their activity. And it doesn't make much sense for the user to submit 3 impacts. They should just be able to submit 1 impact and be able to understand that there's actually 3 impacts that are happening. We're still figuring out or looking into ways to improve that. Right now, what we have is just a single impact that's called a combined impact. And then within the description, they kind of have to say what's happening there. ArcGIS dashboards doesn't really handle one-to-many relationships very well for our contacts. And in that sense, what I'm talking about is our project managers, or sometimes our GCs, are linked to multiple projects at a time. And that's just sort of been something that we've run into that we'd like to see that just done a little bit more cleanly. We also have projects that cover multiple buildings or campuses, and so using multi-point or multi-area comes with pros and cons. So we're having to deal with that. And then we have been experiencing issues with Power Automate. It's just some inconsistencies that have really given us pause on whether or not we want to continue to use that service. So we're looking for alternatives there. As mentioned, we want to fully automate the process to update our design and construction projects, review options to map interior projects and impacts, and then review ArcGIS dashboards for mobile view. And that's all I have. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the project. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks very much for your very interesting presentation. If there are any questions, please type those in the chat. I wonder if there are any UC campuses that are using similar approaches as the one that you just presented. It seems really comprehensive, also from a GIS point of view. And yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
I'm not aware of any other campus taking it to this level. This is a pretty robust system at this point. We have another, I don't know, another level or two to go to really make it fully functional what we want. But it's pretty robust at this point, pretty involved, and I haven't seen or heard from other real estate or planning teams across the UC that have started to do this. I know that there are other campuses that have mapped their construction projects. So you can go to like a story map or to a web app builder application or some type of Esri application and just sort of see where construction is happening. But I'm not aware of anyone going any further than that.
Right. I'm just wondering, I'm curious because I'm at UC San Diego and it feels like there's always something being constructed here. So yeah, this seems like a very good model to follow maybe by other UC campuses or beyond that as well.
Yeah, part of presenting today is hopefully some others will see it and think about adopting a similar approach.
Right. Yes. Thank you for that. I don't see any questions in the chat, but hopefully maybe somebody will get in touch with you also via email or maybe some messaging here in the Zoom session today. So we will conclude the session. We will resume at 2:20 with presentations on geospatial techniques and technology. I will copy the link for the full agenda in the chat. So yes, thanks very much again to the presenters for this very short session, and please stay tuned for the following two sessions and the final ones for our UCGIS week event. Thanks very much for attending, and see you in a few minutes.